Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I will be talking about an interview between KB and Edmond from Love is Blind Season 9. They recently did an interview with a podcast called Hardly Initiated, and this was probably the best interview I've seen from anybody who interviewed someone from Love is Blind Season 9. Okay, the interviewer then asked Edmond if he's ever dated a woman like KB before, and Edmond very candidly says no, he hasn't, and that KB is like very, very beautiful, and that when he saw her, he was actually intimidated by her beauty. He also mentions that he can be insecure because he thinks that in his mind, when he sees someone like KB, he's like, oh, a lot of men want her. And, she was the first Black woman that he has ever like dated. And, he was like, she's so beautiful and it's so intimidating. And then Edmond goes on to explain that when a woman is not as beautiful, that, you can almost relax around them more. But when a woman is very beautiful, like KB, it's like, he basically was saying that he was more on guard and kind of more uptight. Like it was harder for him to just let his guard down and relax. And I found this to be very interesting because And another thing that Edmond says is that, he basically honestly says that KB's beauty was like pressure for him, and I thought this was interesting because Edmond was really honest in saying that. And I appreciated him for saying, I think that him admitting this kind of explains some of his other behaviors. And it also makes me wonder if the scene the alleged of him taking Casey to the bathroom, if he did that out of insecurity. Because that whole thing to me was strange, only because he knew that KB was there. He knew that KB would see him with Casey trying to go wherever they were trying to go. Did he want KB to see that and make it seem like, hey, I have other options because he was so insecure? Like, these are all the questions that are now going through my mind. But I thought that it was very commendable for Edmond to be so honest and kind of almost, deeply think about how KB was making him feel and, explain that, her beauty was intimidating for him and almost didn't make him fully act himself, right? And I'm bringing this up because I think that women don't realize sometimes how we can affect men and how men see us sometimes. So I found this to be fascinating only because insecurity is a very tricky thing and it shows up in so many different ways. So even him being able to say this out loud and explain that because of the way KB looked, it was harder for him to even fully act like himself and relax, I think also explains a little bit more of his behavior even throughout the show as well. So the interviewer asked Edmond why he would think KB could possibly say no. What was his reasoning behind that? And he basically responds and says that there was no sexual chemistry. The interviewer is confused because they're like, what do you mean no sexual chemistry? And then Edmond kind of corrects himself and he's like, oh, well, what he meant was that, there was no sex. And I'm confused because I'm then Edmond goes on to say that if they had sex, right, that it would have been way more of a yeah for him. Almost like his answer would have been more solidified. And I guess I'm confused because I'm after everything that's happened and him crying, during the show about this, why is he even bringing this up again? I personally find Edmond to be very strange. Why would you have having slept with her have changed or done anything to change your decision? Can you guys explain this to me? Because I'm so lost. And these are the reasons why I don't really understand Edmond, because sex aside, they were not compatible. The fighting was crazy. They're not compatible. So I'm lost because I'm of all the things we saw of them on camera and all the disagreements and the places where they were butting heads, you're telling me that it was the sex? You think that that's why? Edmond is so strange, guys. I don't understand him. I'm lost. Why are you still bringing this up and making it seem like it was part of huh? What does that have to do with anything? Oh my gosh. So Edmond then mentions that another reason, I guess, which to me, this is a more valid reason, because that first reason didn't even answer the interviewer's question fully. He's talking about himself and the fact that he wished that they had had sex before the marriage or before the altar. But, the interviewer's question was, do you know reasons why KB would have said no? Like, what are the reasons in your mind? So Edmond explains that another reason was that when he met KB's friends, they didn't take well to him at all. And that if anything, they were kind of standing up for KB and very much supporting her. So KB then explains that Edmond had asked her friends if they thought that KB and Calabria would get married in the end and say yes. And both of her friends quickly answered no. And KB says that she tried not to laugh because it was just so blunt. But, it was very obvious that they were not really in support and that they would have been surprised if KB actually said yes towards the end of this whole experiment. So we didn't know this, right? Because they didn't show the scene with KB's friends. But Edmond, I think at that point was like, oh man, this might not go the way that I thought it would. So the interviewer wants to know if there was any other defining moment that we didn't see that contributed to why KB basically ended up saying no. And I don't know why, but I was surprised that this was brought up again. KB basically brings up, Edmond taking Casey to the bathroom again. And Edmond immediately tries to clarify, and he ends up contradicting himself. He starts talking about the living room, how they were trying to go to the living room and you have to cross the bathroom to get to the living room I was like, what is going on? And at one point he says that he never took Casey to the bathroom. And then in the same breath, he says that he never did it again. So the interviewer is like, okay, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. What are you talking about? How are you saying you're never going to do something again that you said you originally never did, right? Because Edmond is claiming he never took Casey to the bathroom. So Edmond once again doubles down and says that he didn't take Casey to the bathroom and that he wanted to, take her to the hallway or something just to go talk, I guess, about their relationship, like KB and Edmond's relationship. I don't understand this because I don't get in any world why you would need to take one of your fiance's friends to an area away from the group of people that you're with to talk about anything, especially in a place like the bathroom or any area, even if it's a hallway, but if it's a place that's like people can't see you, why is that necessary? It's just strange behavior. And I wonder if, if this was done on purpose out of Edmond's insecurity. I don't know. Because, KB's very beautiful. Obviously she, and I think that maybe I don't know. But something about that to me just doesn't sit well at all. And the fact that KB's bringing it up again, this really bothered KB. You can tell because she brought it up in the interview with AD, like maybe a couple days ago. She's bringing it up now. So this is something that stuck with her. Then KB doubles down. She says that Casey confirmed at the reunion that Edmond did try and take her to the bathroom. Unfortunately, that scene was cut from the reunion because we didn't get to see that. But KB's explaining that Casey confirmed that this happened. Then KB also goes on to say that when she did see what Edmond was trying to do with Casey while they were at this party or something, that his jaw dropped, almost in surprise, oh no, I've been caught, which I'm like, if you're doing something that I feel like the only reason your jaw would drop when someone sees you doing something is because you're guilty of something that you shouldn't be doing, or else why are you in surprise? And then KB goes on to say she didn't like that Edmond basically gaslit her, after this and was saying things like, do you think I'd be able to pull a girl like Casey? Or, just crazy things. So after some back and forth between KB and Edmond, the interviewer asks again, only because it's still not clear after all of this. They ask Edmond again, did you take Casey to the bathroom? Edmond once again says no, that he didn't do it. So he's still standing 10 toes in he did not do this. And he says that if he saw KB take a guy to the bathroom, that he basically makes up the scenario. And Edmond is saying that if he saw KB take a guy to the bathroom, that he would just ask KB about it. and that he wouldn't jump to conclusions or immediately get angry. The interviewer literally interjects and they're like, oh, hold up. Like, I would not like it if I saw my girl taking a guy to the bathroom. That shouldn't even be happening. Basically in support of KB, like, there's no way you're going to see your partner taking someone to the bathroom and you're going to be okay with that. And you'll be like, oh, we'll just talk about it later. No. And this is where, like, I don't think, like, Edmond is a difficult person. I'm standing in that. Like, whoever gets with Edmond, good luck. Like, I don't want to be mean, but, like, to me, when it's like 1 + 1 = 2, I feel like to Edmond, 1 + 1 = 3. The math is not mathing with this man. Like, why? No, being in a relationship with someone like this would be hell. I'm so sorry. Like, you'd have to explain everything to them. This is common sense. Like, you are not going to be happy seeing your significant other taking someone of the opposite sex to any bathroom. Nobody's going to be happy about that. Like, and the fact that he came up with that scenario to try and justify, like, something's not right. Something is just not right. So please let me know your comments on this down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.